Shout out to Black Americans, dead ass. I know I've talked about this in the past, but I feel like I don't talk about it enough. And also, I feel like they don't get enough credit. I don't think black people all around the world understand that the United States is by far the safest country in the world today for black people to migrate to because of black Americans.
When I came to America newly, I used to think African Americans are lazy. They don't want to work and all that.
All right, welcome back again. If there is something that really makes me happy and gives me the goosebumps, is when the African Americans and Africans, or really, let me just say, all the black people come together and they begin speaking of the same language, agreeing on the same things, supporting each other, looking at one another as brothers keeper, as friends. It is something that really gives me a lot of energy because there is nothing that I've ever championed for more than the black unity and the unity of the black people because I know what the unity of the black people can do. And every person who champions for the black unity, like I do, definitely and automatically they become my friends because I love the unity of the black people. I sometimes feel bad and frustrated when you see some black people saying we can't unite with the Africans, or an African saying we can't unite with the African Americans, or an African American saying we can't unite with an African. Sometimes I normally feel offended, even if it doesn't touch me directly or it doesn't affect me, because at the end of the day I have a life to live. It makes me feel very much offended, and I sometimes feel like it is affecting me. I don't know why, because I've always been a person who thinks and believed in the unity of the black people. I've always been this kind of a person who has always felt like when black people come together and unite, it's going to change a life. It's going to be something nice, something fantastic, something fundamental, something crucial. And I've always wanted to see a black community that is united, a black people that are together, they're doing their things together. You see, a white person divided black people because they wanted to conquer black people. And we bought the narrative of, these are African Americans, these are Africans. African Americans have got their own culture, Africans have got their own culture, Africans and African Americans are not the same. And we bought this narrative. By buying this narrative, it really affected a lot of us because now our brains, now they are washed. We are blindfolded. And that is why, even in the land of America itself, after a white man succeeded on dividing black people, the African Americans, from Africans, and this, even in America itself, they still feel like the black people in America, they are still coming together, and like they're intact and all that. And they had a new game. That is why I think there is the foundational black Americans and the African Americans. You come across a foundational black American saying, "Don't call me an African American. I'm not an African American. I am an FBA. I am an indigenous American. I am a foundational black American. I was here. I was born here. This was my original land," and all that. So, like, they don't associate themselves with the African Americans. And some other African Americans are saying, "We are African Americans." When you call them African Americans, they feel happy. They feel okay. They say, "Thank you for referring to us as African Americans." Other black people say, "Don't call me an African American. I'm not an African American. I am a black American, or indigenous black American." So you're like, a white man did not get tired even after dividing a black person or African Americans from Africans. They went there and they saw the African Americans together. They decided, these people are too much together, let us also divide another group and make them, the foundational black Americans. And that is what is happening, you see. But if black people come together and unite, it's going to shame the devil. It's going to make us at least reclaim, or make us at least regain the power we used to have, because black people have power. Black people got everything they need, in this world, for them to be able to succeed and to secure everything they want. And that one can only happen if black people are together, if we unite, if we come back together. That is the only way that we can be able to bring ourselves and collect ourselves together and think loud. But if we are not together, if we are far apart from each other, if we are separated, it's going to be difficult for real. It's going to be difficult. The easiest way for a white man to conquer And the easiest way that a white man had to use to conquer, it was dividing. Dividing and rule was what they used to, what they used. Yeah, the criteria of dividing and rule, and that is why we've been talking about the Berlin Conference. You see, during the Berlin Conference in the years of 1884, when they wanted to conquer Africa, they first of all had to divide Africa. They couldn't just conquer Africa as a whole. They knew Africa was powerful, and then they decided, for us to be able to overcome these people very easily, what we need to do is to divide these people. So many countries, Portugal, Spain, Britain, Germany, Belgium, all these countries, they felt like now they told themselves, now you're going to take this part to this part, this part to this part. We dismantle them. We make them weak by dividing them. That is how they conquered us. And even today, they still fear the unity of a black person. That is why when the black leaders try to bring up the people together, they're hunted down, trying to assassinate them and all that. And it has been something we've been seeing all along, which means they know that the unity of a black person is very powerful and they can't allow a unity of a black person. So as black people, what do we need to do? We need to come together and decide, let us be able to shame the devil, because we already now understand and know what is it that it's required of us, that if we unite, we can be strong. That is why they don't want our unity. Now that we know that, what are we supposed to do? We put away all our differences. We brush off all our differences. These one are better than this one. No, we are all black people. There is nobody who is better than the other one. All of us are black. We have the same DNA. We have the same color. We look alike. We are from the same ancestral. We have them from the same roots. At the end of the day, we are all black. And if you trace the roots, you're going to find out that we are coming from the same place. You might even find out you're rejecting your own brother and all that. Therefore, we should not allow these people to continue doing what they are doing to us. And when blacks come together, there's a lot of benefits. The benefits that I'm gonna tell you, right away. So there are very many benefits, a lot of benefits. It's very important when black people come together. I'll tell you why. But before I get to that point, I want you to watch these videos, and I will come back and say something at the end of it. I want to tell you what is it that is important and how is it important for the black people to come together, to work together, to think loud together, to unite, and begin working things out together and all that. Now, as you're watching this video, prepare your thoughts, have them shared with me in the comment section. I will do my best to make sure I read all of them and give a response where possible. I'm going to ask you to subscribe to this channel if you're watching me for the first time. And for the returning subscribers, I really do appreciate you so much. Now, let's take a look at this video, then let me know what you think on the comment section.
I watched this video of this African lady raised in Kenya education system, and she was saying how, like, growing up in the school system, they were very confused about the little bit that they taught them about Black Americans and slavery. They were so confused. And she said that they keep us ignorant to each other's suffering, Black Americans and Africans. They keep us ignorant to each other's suffering to create division. So now here we have the Africans coming over to America, and America possibly about to open up to the Africans our money, the money that belongs to Black Americans. The ignorance that they keep both parties with not understanding the other people's suffering. This lady was saying how, even when she visited America, she did not understand us because she did not understand what our ancestors have endured, some of our ancestors. Now with further education and knowledge of the American history, now she sees us. And I believe this goes on with any race, not just Africans versus Black Americans. I believe the reason we treat everyone the way we do is because we lack understanding. We lack understanding of each other. The Chinese lack understanding of the Africans. The Africans lack understanding of Black Americans. Black Americans lack understanding of islanders. Like, we all just lack understanding. We lack understanding due to our lack of proximity to one another. If we all were in more proximity to each other, if we all were closer with one another, where we shared stories, shared experiences, and brought people into our lives, we would have better understanding of each other. And we would see each other more on a human level than divided by our colors.
You know, when I came to America newly, I used to think African Americans are lazy. They don't want to work and all that. You will never understand the struggle of African Americans until you live in the system for 5 years. Then you understand that being black in the system is already playing you 10-0. Like you are 10 steps behind. The schools in black neighborhoods, they're all underfunded. The only thing you can find anywhere, everywhere in black neighborhood is liquor store. Keep drinking and keep yourselves busy. Now I understand why everybody's fighting so much to live in white neighborhood. Before I used to say they are not proud of their skin color. They don't love who they are. But they're actually fighting for their children's future. Because being black in the system is already playing you 10-0. You are 10 steps behind. Is it you that is coming with underfunded certificates that want to be competing with somebody that is 10 steps ahead of you? Being black in the system is tough. You see, African Americans and Africans, we're all the same. Let us not be distracted. We are all the same. The only difference is that one is living in America, the other one is coming from Africa. Let's support each other's business. If you see your brother trying to make ends meet, support his business. You get to the point now. Peace and love.
Shout out to Black Americans, dead ass. I know I've talked about this in the past, but I feel like I don't talk about it enough. And also, I feel like they don't get enough credit. I don't think black people all around the world understand that the United States is by far the safest country in the world today for black people to migrate to because of black Americans, because of their ancestors' sacrifice, including this birthright citizenship that everybody and their mama enjoys, that Donald Trump is trying to get rid of. This was enacted because of black Americans. And it breaks my heart the way a lot of people come to America and not only turn a blind eye to their plight, but also talk shit and shit on them, in spite of the fact that America is all they know and they're doing their best in a country that was not created for them, most especially Africans. But I'm not trying to get into the diaspora war thing because, like I've mentioned before, this is just a bunch of hurt people hurting people. You have to understand that one of the things that makes black Americans different from every other black people is black Americans are the only group of black people that actually got to live with white people. Everybody else was left behind in their home countries. I know the Caribbeans were also products of slavery. Those countries, including the Caribbean islands, are majority blacks. The countries that white people wanted to settle in, especially the United States, the black people who were forced to be there, they received a heavier dose of fuck shit. And naturally, black Americans got to witness what it is about humans that made the Bible say the heart of man is desperately wicked. They got to see that massa don't fuck with nobody but massa, Chad. And a lot of these Africans and Caribbeans who migrate to the U.S. are yet to learn this. That's why y'all be just, when you see a white people, we thank God. This is equivalent to a pick-me woman seeing a very sexy man who's tall, dark, and handsome and everything in her dream, that she just opens herself up to him to get knocked up. But then until she gets to his home to see how he lives, she gets to see that he lives like a pig. Dirty dishes, dirty laundry, snores and farts in his sleep, takes the shit and forgets to flush it, doesn't even wipe his ass right. Ooh, yeah. Bad breath in the morning, looking a hot mess. Then you come to see the things that makes him human. And then all of a sudden he ain't shit. But you could have figured that out before you let him knock you up if you were not so obsessed by his physical image. Girl, you should have asked baby mama number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You thought 11 was gonna be the match number? Yet, in spite of that, black Americans have been able to persevere and pull away and do their own thing in a country that was not created for them. They have their own art, some of which was taken from them, jazz, hip hop, rap, their own dialect. And even at that, a lot of the things that they started were stolen from them without credit, destroyed, burned down, called ghetto, and anything but a child of God, child. And yet, they still persevere. And to me, this is one of the things that makes them very attractive to me. Like I mentioned before, when I lived in America, black Americans were my favorite group of people because their audacity, bro, their audacity is so fucking powerful. And I know that this is something that a lot of black people, a lot of people in general, but especially Africans, judge them for. I want to see how y'all survive being the black sheep of a family that does not want you, that you're required to be a part of. We can all learn from each other because we're in this shit together. We are stronger together. Uche, peace and love.
Thank God for another day. Good morning, friends. How are you? I am so happy today because this is a purpose for me to see people being healed, to see people on the healing process. I'm not expecting people to be healed overnight. I'm not expecting people to forgive and forget overnight, but on the path to healing. And I'm so happy. I'm just grateful. You know, when I walk on the American soil, do you know what I'm thinking about now? I'm walking on blood. I'm walking on sweat. I'm walking on somebody's tears. I'm working on, when I walk, I'm walking on somebody's hope, somebody who had waited, somebody who had dreamed, the sweat of the ancestors. And it's just very humbling, you know. I am admiring their tenacity, their consistency in the midst of pain. And I'm just grateful. I have a new look as an African immigrant. I have a new look of things. And I promised, not a promise, but I told you guys I'm going to spread awareness. I'm going to start telling my fellow Africans that please don't use any derogatory words to describe the people we met in this land. Put some respect on it, regardless of where they're at. Because what they are, where they are at now, some of them, is because of generations upon generations upon generations of trauma. In fact, some of them are doing excellently well. Because some people would have been wiped out with what they passed through. They are still moving. They are still building America. They are still, you know, trying in spite of the odds, still paving the way for others who they don't even know. So that's part of the awareness I'm going to spread. I'm going to try to also visit the African American museums. I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to also try to do that when I go to Ghana or other African countries. I want to spread awareness. All right, guys, let me go. Bye-bye.
Black Americans do not have a home. That was what was said on my comment section on my previous video by my African brothers and sisters. Okay, come to think of it for a second. Why do we run from our so-called home and come to live in a homeless land? Why do we do that? Why are we Africans running from poverty, broken system, and war to live in a homeless land? Why are we doing that? While there was one who stayed, fought, built, and survived through 400 years of hell, Black Americans may not know their village or tribe, but let me tell you, these people stayed and built a rhythm, a culture, and an unbroken soul that is unmatched. These people turned pain into power, they turned shame into culture, they made a place that was feeling like nowhere into somewhere. Before you run into my comment section and say they don't have a home, ask yourself, what type of home are we Africans running from, and what type of home did Black Americans build? It's nothing.
I now feel for the Black community because I know what it feels like to be racially profiled. I didn't know it before, and I thought it was a little bit of a reach, but now I totally get it. That's what a man came out on here and said. And this is why we should believe victims. This is why we should believe people's stories. This is why we should have empathy. And this is why we should be able to put ourselves in other people's shoes. Because you thought it was a reach. That's what he said. He thought it was a reach when the Black community said that they were being racially profiled and they were getting stopped for no reason. And like, it probably wasn't that serious. But now that Latinos are getting racially profiled, now he gets it. This is why empathy is so important, because you never know when the tables turn. And no, it shouldn't be transactional. It really shouldn't. You should believe people because you should think. You should be able to think outside yourself and be like, if that was me, I would hate that. I don't have to be Black to realize that that freaking sucks. That what they go through, what they've experienced, sounds painful, that I can't even imagine the years of frustration and honestly, just freaking frustration and anger that they must feel. But guess what? Now Latinos get it. Now. And that is why we are in the situation that we are, because people don't feel for others until it happens to them.
Do you know where a lot of Africans make their mistake when it comes to foundational Black Americans? They come to this country with arrogance, disrespect, talking down on foundational Black Americans about we don't have a culture, we don't know who we are, and all of that nonsense trying to Africanize us, forcing us to claim Africa. That's the wrong way. And you see that you get a lot of resistance back from foundational Black Americans. I remember when Africans had a lot of support and a lot of foundational Black Americans respected Africans. But then something changed, man. It's not just one or two or three or a few people that's lashing out against Africans, mainly Nigerians. But it's like a great bulk or majority of foundational Black Americans that are against Africans. And there's a reason behind that. Now, if you look at the Asian community and the Middle Eastern community, they were able to come to this country and make a great deal amount of money off the Black community. They would come in, they would set up in the Black community, and they would make money. Black and Asians and Middle Easterns got along pretty well. But then the Africans came in, and Black Americans, very few Black Americans will support them, but they really didn't want to give Africans any type of business. As a matter of fact, there's some Africans here locally that tried to open a store or maybe even a mobile station, and they had to actually put Arabs or Middle Eastern people in there to run it for them because they weren't getting the support of foundational Black Americans. And there's a reason behind that. It's the disrespect that they show towards the same people that they expect to support their businesses. Because if your people were supporting your business, there would be no need for you to come to America. You would do well from where you came from. But you travel all the way overseas just to disrespect the same people, the locals, the foundational people here, the ones you expect to give you business. You come here and disrespect and look down upon and feel that we need you, when in reality we don't. We've gone over 400 years, over 500 years without you. We've survived through just about everything. And here it is, you come here and just think that we ought to just bow down to you because you're from the continent of Africa, right? And that's wrong. That's the wrong way to approach things. If you had came here humble, we're not looking for anyone to kiss our behinds or, we're not looking for that. Just respect. Now, you don't see the Asians going through that. You don't see the Middle Easterns going. I could take you to a Middle Eastern business right now or an Asian business, and Black Americans are supporting them with no problem. They know them by name. Every now and then you may have a situation where you find one or two Black Americans get into it with an Asian or a Middle Eastern, but not too often. They were able to sit up in this community and do well. But the Africans come here, the Nigerians come here with a very haughty attitude, and Black Americans frown upon that. I remember when I went overseas, when we Americans went overseas, number one, they didn't allow us to get involved in their politics. You have Africans here that get involved in the politics here, and then like when that reparation topic come up, the Africans that are now in American political system, they quickly like, oh, I reject it. Black Americans should not get reparations. How are you going to come here and dictate what we get? And Black Americans were the ones that voted you in the office in the name of blackness, thinking that they're supporting you and that you were going to support us, but instead you got in position now and look down your nose at Black Americans and only support the people that come from where you came from and other immigrants. See, you can't do that, man. And see, that's the problem that a lot of Africans are having here in this country. It's like they're very arrogant and disrespectful. When I went to other countries, man, it's like I went there with respect, humbled them. I'm very, very humble. respectful to the people. And then when it was time for me to leave, I left. See, I didn't go there trying to look down on the locals because I'm an American. I didn't do that. But yet, Nigerians and Africans come here and they do that in America. And I think that's one of the big reasons why a lot of y'all are being banned, especially with the Nigerian frauds. And y'all talk about doctors, you know, and engineers, but a lot of y'all are getting busted, man, for having fake license, right? You getting busted for scams and frauds. So that's the reason why I think a lot of Africans are getting kickbacks from foundational Black Americans, because you come in here, you came wrong. You came with the wrong energy. And now you got a lot of Black Americans now are starting to band together against you. You're going to have a few that's going to support you.
Right. Videos like this really make me happy. They really amaze me. They really make me feel like at least we're heading somewhere. You know, we've had recently the things to do with, you know, boycott African business in America and all that. And you see the African Americans, some are the ones who are saying boycott African business and all that. And I'm feeling like, you know, this is something we should be doing. You see all the things that are happening in Africa, all the bad leadership that are happening in Africa, we can only solve it if we unite. Because I believe that the Black people in America, they're very much intelligent, they understand a lot of things, and manipulation can only be over if people come together. You see? If we unite, if we come back together, we're going to have something that is called reconnection after separation. You know, for centuries, slaveries and colonization tore African people apart. We were torn apart by slavery and by colonization. It is something that really affected us so much. So some were taken to the Americas, others remained in the continent. The love and connection between Africans and Black Americans is a healing process, you know, and it repairs that historic reparation and restores a shared sense of family and belonging. So as much as we've been apart from each other for a very long time, if we come back together, number one, we are going to have some things like the connection between Africans and Black Americans and a healing process. You know, we must have a healing because it was something that was painful and it really left a very big wound in our hearts, in our bodies, and everywhere. And therefore, by us coming back together, we're going to have a healing process. You know. Cultural strength and pride. When African and Black Americans appreciate each other's culture, music, language, fashion, spiritual, and values, it creates a powerful shared identity. And this unity, you know, it strengthens cultural pride and counters negative stereotypes that have been used to divide and oppress Black people globally. Yeah? So, things like music and language, fashion, spirituality, and values, it creates a powerful shared identity because we are doing it the same way. And this unity strengthens cultural pride. You know, our pride as Black people, and counters negative stereotypes, what we are being told about the Black people. You see, Black people have been projected in a certain way that they're just bad people. And therefore, those are what we call now the negative stereotypes that have been used to divide and oppress Black people globally. You know, Black people have been oppressed everywhere. Yeah, every time, blacks. Even the things they didn't do, people have always tried to make it look like they did, and that is how we've been the things we've been going through. And therefore, if we come together, we can have also what we call an economic empowerment. And on economic empowerment, we both sides collaborate. You know. Africans collaborating with African Americans collaborating with Africans. Yeah. So through trade, number one, through investment, through tourism, through creative industries, they built wealth within the Black community worldwide. For example, Black Americans investing in Africa. Yeah. Like them investing in Africa or Africans supporting Black-owned business in the US creates mutual growth and independence from systems that have historically exploited them. Yeah, so they be creating something different. You know, for a very long time we've had a history, and this history that we've had, it has been exploiting us. You know why? Because they are telling us this is who you are, so that you can believe on something that isn't you. You can believe on a process or on a dream or something that isn't you. Now, By you failing for that or falling for that, you end up getting easy manipulation or easy deceiveness. You're deceived very easily because you have an identity of yourself that is not you, and it becomes very difficult for you to be able to cope. So manipulation becomes very, very easy. So when we both collaborate through trade, through investment, through tourism and creative industries, they built wealth within the black community worldwide. Building wealth within the black community worldwide. A community that is poor, it becomes very easy for you to manipulate that kind of a community. But a community that is rich and wealthy, you can't manipulate that kind of a community. That is why I've always used this example. If you're walking along the road and you meet a lady, and this lady, she's very much in need. Maybe she's needing something, maybe she's desperate because of something, she's in need. You're just getting me. She's in need. Maybe she doesn't have anywhere to go, she doesn't have anywhere to sleep, she doesn't have food and all that. Maybe she doesn't have a shelter, and she's just hanging around somewhere on the road crying. And then a man coming along and maybe happened to meet this woman, and then you ask this woman, what is happening? She tells you everything that she's going through. You immediately know that this woman is in need. And when she's in need, at the back of your mind, you understand she is desperate now and she can do anything. When somebody is in need, you are willing to do anything for you to be able actually to get help. So whatever you're going to tell this woman to do, she's going to do it. So you're going to call her and tell her, let's go to my house, I'm going to help you in this way and this way. And because she's in need, she doesn't have a mind to think that this man might be taking advantage of me. So the moment you get to this woman in your house, you are able to do anything to her, and she's willing to accept anything you're going to ask her to do. Why? Because she's desperate, because she's in need. Yeah. So people who are in need are easy to get manipulated. So you're going to use this woman however you want. She's going to not resist you because she's in need, because she's desperate, and at the end of the day, as a man, and many men do that, sometimes you can just let her go without even helping her, or throw her away after doing that, or after getting satisfied and all that. And this woman, you won't blame her, because she was in need and she was desperate because of her needs. So that is how the West has always been treating Africa and been treating black people, because they know black people are in need. They've placed black people into a position where black people need so much. Yeah, they need so much. So they've made poverty part of us. They've made Africa and black people poor by design, so that we will always be desperate. We will always run for them for help, and they will use us, they will take advantage of us, and they will dump us at the end of the day. So somebody who is poor or somebody who is in need is easily manipulated. They've placed us in a position where we are poor and we are in need, so that they can be able to execute an easy manipulation to us. And if we can be able to work together, collaborate, the Africans and the African Americans, number one, we're going to build investment. We're going to have trade relationships. We're going to have tourism. We're going to have creative industries. Yeah, we're going to build wealth within the black community worldwide. For example, black Americans investing in Africa, or Africans supporting black-owned business in the US, creates mutual growth and independence from a system that has historically exploited them. And that is what we need to do, if at all. That is what it's going to help us if we come together and unite. Number four, we have a political and social power. In political and social power, also unity of the African Americans and the unity of the black people here also, it really matters a lot. Unity creates influence. Number one, when Africans and black Americans stand together on global issues, from racial justice to fair trade to international representation, their collective voice becomes stronger and harder to ignore. Okay, so this alliance challenges systems of racism and neocolonization. We've talked about neocolonization. Many people don't know about neocolonization. Neocolonization is the existing colonization that is invisible. Colonization of a black person, that is very much invisible. It exists, but it is invisible. Not like the direct colonization we used to have, when they used to colonize us direct and tell us to do everything we used to do. After our ancestors have fought and they had to leave, they couldn't leave Africa. So they had to pretend they have left. Now, what we're having today in Africa is an invisible colonization, which is called a neo-colonization, a modern colonization. Getting my point? Yeah. So unity creates influence. And when Africans and Black Americans stand together on global issues, from racial justice to fair trade and international representation, their collective voices become stronger and harder to ignore. So this alliance challenges systems of racism and neocolonization. Manipulation and deceiveness will not be there anymore, will not have their presence anymore. They will have disappeared because of unity. And that is what the unity of African Americans and Black Americans can do. Healing and solidarity. The shared love reminds both sides that despite centuries of suffering, the African spirit remains unbroken. You know, the Black spirit remains unbroken. An African American is a Black person, African is a Black person. We all have the same DNA. We are Black people. If we come together and have the healing, the solidarity together, it reminds us that our spirit remains unbroken, It's an act of emotional and spiritual healing. So, yeah, we are one people and we rise together. Together, we can be one. They say that if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with people, which means if Black Americans, the African Americans, and the Africans can come together, these are a whole group of people with their ambitions, with their visions, and they know what they want, So these people can be able to go far. They can be able to shake the walls of the world. They can be able to break the chains that they have been bounded in for a very long time. They can be able to shake the walls that they had surrounded them for a very long time, that was built by the colonialism and the white supremacists. And they can be able to go scot-free, and they will shake the world. So what we need and what we're preaching right now is the Black unity. That is what we want. That is what we are championing for, because we know what the Black unity can really bring to us. Louis Farrakhan once upon a time said that the unity of a Black person is as powerful as hydrogen and atomic bomb, which means the unity of a Black person can do anything, and it can take a Black person to any extent. So yeah, tell me what you think. It is my opinion, to bring Black people together, to unite Black people and build an Africa that is just, an Africa that loves, an Africa that cares, or a Black community that is caring, that is strong, that is justful, and all of that. We've been living like slaves. But if we come together, the slavery thing is going to disappear, because we're going to have a say over ourselves and speak on our own behalves selves. That is what we need to do as Black people. At the end of the day, it is just my opinion. Some people, maybe they may not want it. I want it. Tell me what you think yourself, your opinion in the comment section. I'm going to do my best to make sure I read all the comments and give a response where possible. I'm going to ask you to subscribe this channel. If maybe you're watching me for the first time, for the returning subscribers, it is my honor to have you once again in my channel. Okay? Now, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to share. Press notification bell. Be the first person to get every episode as it really comes in. I tell you, every day Africa is home, and anything that concerns Africa concerns me and you as Black people. Until next episode, peace be with you. God bless.